My name is Susie, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a way or a recipe that you can use to make sweet pimento paste. And sweet pimento paste is basically a sweet red pepper paste, which is a staple in most Portuguese homes. We use it on marinades, we use it to flavor soups, we use it to eat alongside with fish, we have it on eggs, we use it in everything. Now the sweet pepper pimento that you buy is fermented, and that is what we are going to be doing. So we're going to make the sweet pimento paste, and we're also going to be making it hot sauce, which we're also using the red peppers or the sweet red peppers, but we're going to add a couple of hot peppers to it. So in order to make our sweet pepper paste or sweet pimento paste, we're going to have to ferment. And all you have to do to ferment is you have to make sure your equipment is all cleaned and sterilized. You're going to need some water that you've left sit out for 24 hours or use distilled water. But what you don't want to use is water directly out of the tap, because there may be a lot of chemicals in your water such as chlorine, etc., which may impede the fermenting process. So we were going to add some salt to that water, and we're going to add our vegetable, and we're going to seal it off, weigh it down, and we're going to wait between 5 to 10 days for it to ferment, at which time it should be ready to eat. Now you can let this go as long as 4 months if you want. The whole process of fermenting, actually what you're doing is number one, you're preserving the peppers, so you're preserving the food. You're also unlocking a lot of nutrients in the food by fermenting it that you normally would not have access to by just eating it raw or cooked. The other great thing about it is that as it ferments and ages, you're also changing the flavor of the peppers, making them more complex and tangy, which make them very delicious for foods. Now, in order to make a fermentation, you need to have your room temperature between 60 and 75 degrees. Also, you need to have the right ratio of salt to water. Now, the science says that you need to have between 2.5% and 5% of salt volume to the total volume of your finished product, which is going to be your vegetables and your water. So for instance, if you had 100 grams of water and 100 grams of vegetable, you add those two, that's 200 grams of total volume, and you're going to want only 2.5%, let's say, so you multiply that times 0.025. And that gives you 5 grams of salt. So now you've got your equation of salt to water. But an easier way and a general way to think about it and remember it is that you're using 1 tablespoon of salt, sea salt, and that's the fine sea salt, to approximately 4 cups of water. So we're going to kind of use that ratio, and it works for me. Now the other thing that you want to keep in mind is that this fermentation process cannot be exposed to oxygen. So we're going to be fermenting this with the lid on, and you don't want the vegetables to peek out of the water, because anything that's in contact with oxygen will get mold, and you do not want to have that. So how are we going to make our fermentation? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our hot sauce, and this is just a combination of ingredients that I use, and I like the hot sauce. It tastes great. I use it on everything from breakfast to dinner. It's especially delicious when I'm making chicken wings. So for the hot sauce, and this I call entry-level hot sauce because it doesn't pack that much punch, but there's enough that you can definitely taste the heat. For our hot sauce, we're going to need approximately 3 red peppers, 8 cloves of garlic, 8 chili peppers, and 2 habanero peppers. And that seems to be the perfect amount of heat for me. So it's a great way for you to start off this recipe. Try it. If you like more heat, then you remove some of the sweet pepper, replace it with hotter peppers. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to want to add our salt and water. So this is approximately 4 cups, will hold approximately 4 cups of water. So that's about 32 ounces. And to that you want 1 tablespoon of salt. So we're just gonna add a tablespoon of sea salt, and we'll add a little bit of the water. And you just wanna give it a little bit of a head start and swirl it. This certainly isn't necessary, but it helps dissolve it faster. And then we're just going to add our 3 red peppers. And depending on the size of your peppers, these are quite large peppers. So I might not be able to fit 3. And as a matter of, I'm just looking at this now, it looks like I'm gonna fit about 2.5 of these peppers. So essentially you want to fill up your jar, but not totally pack it. And now I'm gonna add my 8 cloves of garlic to it and just put that down there. And then I'm gonna add my 8 chili peppers. Now I bought these chili peppers fresh. I let them sit on the counter until they dried, and then I just keep them in a jar like this. And these will reconstitute, and they will ferment, they'll plumpen up, and they will definitely give the flavor. So I'm keeping the chili peppers whole with their seeds. And to that, I'm going to add 2 habaneros. And for this, I'm just gonna put on some gloves. So I can't find my gloves to slice my little habanero, so I'm just using 2 plastic bags. And I'm just going to, it's not that many peppers, I'm just going to slice it in half, and I'm going to leave the seeds in there. So really, the only heat that I'm adding to my hot pepper sauce are the 2 habaneros with the seeds and the 8 chili peppers. So now that I've got that, I'm just going to fill it up with my water that I've let it sit overnight. And you want to leave about 1 inch from the top. So this actually, it only, after I filled it up with the peppers, it only took 3 cups of water. But because we've got that flexibility in the ratio, it's fine with the 1 tablespoon of salt. And then I've got a glass lid from an old canning jar, which happens to work perfectly. And I'm just gonna press it down, and that will keep my vegetables submerged. So now you want to add, actually before I do that, because these are metal, you don't have to do this, but these aren't really canning jars, so just so it's not in contact with the metal, I just put a little piece of saran wrap. And now I'm gonna sit this on my counter in a warm spot, and I'm gonna check it every day because this will start fermenting, and as it ferments, it's gonna create little bubbles. You want to be able to release the gases from your fermentation so that it doesn't blow your lid off. But the fermentation is very, very gentle, and you will see that there are little bubbles, but just keep an eye on it on a daily basis and just open the jar and allow any gases to release. And in 5 days, check it, see if you like the smell of it, and if you want to continue fermenting it, let it go for 7 days, check it, see if you like the scent of it, and if not, let it go 10 days or longer. But the perfect timing for me is anywhere between 7 and 10 days. I've left them at both and I really like the flavor. So the longer you leave it, the tangier it's going to get and the more complex the flavors will be. But if you just want to have your hot sauce in a week from now, then open it up in 7 days. We're going to be leaving this off to the side and then we're going to check this in 7 days. So in order to make our pimento paste, we're using the exact same process, but we're not adding any heat. So all we're adding are the sweet peppers, and I'm just cutting them lengthwise because I just find that it's easier to pack in my jar. And here I've got a 750 ml jar. 750 ml? So for our sweet pimento paste, we are going to use a 750 milliliter jar, and that's approximately going to take about 2 cups of water. So I've got 2 cups of water set off to the side. So I had said 1 tablespoon of salt for every 4 cups of water. So we're going to use half a tablespoon of salt because we've only got 2 cups of water. So I'm just going to eyeball it, and that's half a tablespoon of salt. We add a little water. Stir it around. And for our sweet pepper sauce, I'm going to actually use 5 cloves of garlic because it is a smaller jar. And you don't have to use the garlic, you can just do the peppers, but I like the flavor of the garlic. I think it gives it, the paste, a nicer flavor. So we'll just throw in our garlic. 1, 2, 3. Hey. Grab 2 more cloves. There, and that's stirred. We're going to add the 5 cloves of garlic, and we're going to add 2 peppers, 2 whole peppers. This is half of one. I'm pretty sure I can get 2 whole peppers in here. Like I said, these peppers were a little bit bigger. And I'm going to cut them a little bit smaller. Okay, so I can't seem to squeeze in the last few little pieces, so we filled our jar. And now we're just going to top it off with our water. So again, I've used about 1.5 cups of water as opposed to 2 cups, but that is fine. And you want to leave about 1 inch of headspace for that. And I'm going to use, so we've got our water, but we want to make sure that our vegetables stay submerged. And right now they're nice and firm. They are submerged, but as they ferment, they're going to soften and they're probably going to float. So if you don't have a weight that you can put on here, you can add a little bag and fill your bag with water, although I think that's going to overflow. Let's see. Okay. So you probably need a good inch of headspace. And you're going to put your bag and then just fill up your bag with water. And this will weigh down your vegetables so that they stay submerged. And then we're going to top this. Where's my lid? We're going to top it off. And we don't want to allow any oxygen in here, so we've got our lid on it, and you can kind of see that the bag has pushed down the vegetables below the water level. Now I'm going to come in here every day and I'm going to open it up and just pull this off to the side, allow any gases to escape, put it back on. And this is going to sit next to my hot sauce for the next 7 days. So I'm going to clean this up. We're going to wait 7 days and I'll be back and show you the next step. So it's been 6 days and you can see the peppers have sunk to the bottom. There's our little bag, and they look perfect. Let's see this one. Now this has developed some white, that's just yeast, and that will not harm you. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. So I let my peppers stay, and actually, I guess because of the warmer weather, they actually fermented a lot faster than I thought. So it's been 6 days, and these guys are definitely ready for my taste. And what happens is that, well, actually on day 5, they were very, very bubbly. And again, the bubbles, they have totally fermented, and you can smell that that they have started the fermentation process. And I think that I am ready to puree this and turn it into my sweet pimento. So this is the sweet pimento that we just used, the sweet peppers and the garlic. And our handy little plastic bag with the water worked perfectly well, because you can see all of the peppers were submerged under the water, and there is absolutely no contact with air, so it's 100% perfect. And all we're going to do is strain it. And really, there's nothing easier. I mean, this has been 6 days, and I've got my sweet pepper paste. I'm just draining or straining my peppers, and then I'm just going to process them in the food processor. And you can, the texture will basically be up to you. So I don't want to fully puree this into a liquid. I want to pulse it so that I've got little bits, and it's a somewhat of a paste. So I'm just going to pulse for about 30 seconds. And that's it. It's basically turned it into a nice paste, which I am going to actually pour out into my measuring cup, because I just want to show you how much we actually are getting from this recipe. And it looks like maybe a cup and a half. It really smells great. Smells great. So actually we've got a cup, and I will show you the consistency. This is only a 250 ml, but you can see it's a nice thick paste that is going to be fantastic to make some Portuguese chicken, or to marinate some thin fast fry steaks will be fantastic. Or just even with on some fresh cheese, which if you want to learn how to make fresh cheese, I've got another video, and you can serve it with this, and it is it's beautiful. Actually, I will take a little taste. It's beautiful. I love the garlic in it. It just gives it a little extra you know, it spices it up a little bit, so the flavor is fantastic. But the absolute best thing about this is that it is virtually no salt. And if you do buy the commercial pimento paste, it's extremely salty and you can only use it in very small amounts. And for people who have high blood pressure, definitely there's tons of salt in the commercial pimentos. So this is virtually no salt and you are not sacrificing in taste at all. It's fantastic. I'll never buy pimento from the store again. And the second, let me just clear this up. So for our hot pepper sauce, and this is really entry-level hot pepper sauce. It's spicy, but it's not too spicy that you won't enjoy it. And as I showed you, there is a little bit of this white residue on the top. You can see the color of the water has definitely changed. And you can definitely smell that the fermentation has definitely happened. So all I'm going to do for this, I'm going to strain it. I'm going to strain it just as I did with the other peppers. And here's my glass top. So you can see that even the water has changed consistency because of the fermentation. And for my pepper sauce, or my hot sauce, I'm going to put this all in the blender, including all of the garlics. Put this off to the side. So I like my hot pepper sauce to have a little extra flavor. So I add to this, I add half a cup of apple cider vinegar, which is my homemade apple cider vinegar. And you can watch another video if you'd like to try and make your own. Very gratifying. And I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of sugar. And this is just my own personal taste. I feel that it just softens the heat a little bit, makes it a little bit more palatable. And then I'm gonna add a full teaspoon, and this is smoked paprika. You can add more, you can add less. This is my basic recipe, and then as I make it on an ongoing basis, I can determine whether or not I like the flavor. So I can add a bit more paprika, I can add a little bit more salt or sugar or whatever. So I am not adding any salt. I've got a teaspoon of sugar, we have a teaspoon of the smoked sweet paprika, and we also have half a cup of the vinegar. And we're going to just puree this, but I'm going to puree it to a finer consistency because this is a sauce, and I want to actually decant it into a bottle. So I'm going to puree it for about a minute or two. And that's it, so it's nicely pureed. Now I am going to, I'm gonna add this to my measuring cup because I want to see how much we actually were able to render from the 3 peppers, 3 sweet peppers with the rest of the peppers. And you can see that it's a rich, it's almost the texture of tomato sauce, a thick, rich tomato sauce. So we easily have 2 cups of the hot pepper. And then I just use recycled beer bottles because I like having them in a smaller bottle, and then I've just got a cork to add to it. And this will give you almost 2 full bottles. You might have to tap it, it's a bit thick going through the funnel. I just use a little skewer. It just helps it push it through. And we can just cap it off. And you can store this in the refrigerator, or I do store mine in my kitchen in a cupboard because my cupboards are fairly cool. And then I've just marked it so I know how long the pepper. Now I will say that this will continually ferment very slowly in the refrigerator. So there is like the flavors deepen and they become richer. So let me grab another bottle. I'm gonna fill up another one. These little recycled beer bottles come in handy. Or of course any other bottles that you may have that you want to use. You could use a larger bottle. I just like having the smaller bottles. They're easier to, you know, bring to the table if you want to serve yourself from it, as opposed to a very big 26er. We almost get 2 little beer bottles. So we were able to render 1 3/4 of a beer bottle of this hot sauce and 1 full cup of the sweet pimento sauce. And so I am going to taste the hot sauce. Just a little. On a cracker. It is hot. It does have spice. It's full of flavor. You wouldn't normally just eat hot sauce on a cracker. So it's a little bit of a taste bud explosion. But the way that I would rate this in terms of heat, and I love heat. I love hot sauce. I use it on everything with all my meals. So I'm accustomed to heat. But the way that I can describe the flavor of this is that the heat only lasts for 10 seconds in your mouth and then it dissipates. So that's one way to measure the potency of it. Also, remember, you're going to be eating it on food. So you can use it sparingly. You can use more if you really like the flavor. And this is excellent on chicken wings with a little bit of melted butter. And you just turn it into a sauce. And you can just glaze your wings as you're cooking at the end of the chicken wing process. It's a great side dish for dipping. So if you want to add a little spice to your life, a little heat, and a little bit of sweet pepper paste with the reduced salt, but full flavor and all the benefits of it being probiotic because of the fermentation process, and you try this recipe and you like it, I hope you share it. Enjoy!